Okay, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, ladies and gents, I just want to, don't worry about what I'm doing in the background. It's none of your business, okay? This is my computer on my screen, so don't you worry about it. Well, that's why you be having people hacking your computer, because you don't want nobody else worried about it. Well, then you don't worry about that neither. Ladies and gentlemen, we got something that we're going to be discussing here at 1:58 in the a.m. Been up since about 12:30. And decided I'm just going to roll with the punches. Going to let it be. You know, like the Beatles sang. We just going to let it be. Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, I have been amazed at the lack of information on YouTube. I see a lot of people doing a lot of videos, having a lot of people pay them for information. I've already told you, my opinion, information should not be paid for. Information should always be free. Why? Because nobody owns knowledge. Nobody owns knowledge. Nobody owns information. Nobody can control that. Well, they just, no, don't, well, nothing. Everybody wants a donation. Everybody wants a payment. That's the problem in our world today. Now, mind you, 2021, I said, hey, need your help. But it wasn't for free. Because I know I provided you, my people, with the information you needed. But you just couldn't see it. So we're going to talk about that today. I just want to help you out, because most people don't know what they received. Sorry, I got it's the time of year that we have these creatures. And the time of year, the creature I'm talking about is termites. I don't have any wood products here. It's just that termites, they are attracted to the solar lights I have on outside. Yeah, you come around my property, you're going to be seen. The camera's going to pick you up. They're infrared, but the light, smile. So they attracted to the light. Go to the light, airlight. Go to the light. Anyway, we have some things we need to discuss. So let's see if we can get right into it. 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, in 1933, this is what happened. Congress had been making a lot of bad deals, been doing a lot of things. They did it originally February 21st, 1871. You might know it as the District of Columbia Act, where they became a quote-unquote corporation for municipal purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing everybody misunderstands, when you quote Title 28 of the so-called code, section 3002 at subsection 15, United States means a federal corporation. That is the Federal Fair Debt Collections Procedures Act. Not the Practice Act, the Procedures Act. That's the official title for that act. So when collecting a debt, the United States is a federal corporation permitted to collect the debt. By the way, that is commercial business, collecting a debt. Shh, don't tell anybody. Anytime the United States engages in commercial business, there's it, they not possess any sovereign power. Ladies and gentlemen, when we went under the contract, the agreement, the New Deal, there is no more government. And nobody seems to understand that. The New Deal put in a provisional government. Why? Because the New Deal was a military act. Don't believe me? Go back and take a look. It's right there. They're not hiding that from you. Now, if you think they're hiding it from you, then you have problems. I'm not going to show it to you because that takes too long. Now, hold on. I do believe in showing you what I'm talking about, but that's why I'm mentioning it the way I'm mentioning it, so that you can go look at it for yourself. Go ahead. The Trading with the Enemy Act is a military act. The Trading with the Enemy Act was an amendment to the Federal Reserve Act. You don't believe me? Just go to the Trading with the Enemy Act, do a word search for Federal Reserve, and you'll see it amends the Federal Reserve Act. It's also a banking act. Now, they claim it's a foreign banking act. So to make that act applicable to all of you, the contract is with a foreign government, not the United States. Go back and take a look at the contract. It's with a corporation. It's not with the United States as a country. Well, in 1933, they repealed the gold clause. No, they didn't repeal no gold clause. The gold clause was supposed to be part of the Constitution, ain't it? We're going to talk about the Constitution in just a second. Give you guys a little heads up. If the gold clause was part of the Constitution, then that means they need to follow the normal process for amending the Constitution. There was no amendment to the Constitution. The gold clause is still there. It never disappeared. So those of you who are going into anybody's arena, bringing up that argument or saying it on video, you have no idea how intelligent you sound. You heard me. That's why you're not getting anywhere. Well, you're not getting anywhere either. Well, no, I'm actually getting a lot of places. The only problem is I can't get where I need to go because I'm too busy worrying about all of you. Well, you don't need to worry about me. I'll take care of myself. Well, if you could take care of yourself while you're watching this video. You're watching this video because you know you're going to get some information that's going to be vital, beneficial, helpful. I assure you, you will. That I can guarantee. So let's finish talking about 1933, shall we? In 1933, the President of the United States said, hey, I got this letter from the bank and they're going to give me a lot of power. All I got to do is get Congress to enact this junk. So I'm going to call an emergency session of Congress and I'm telling them we're going to have a banking holiday. But during the banking holiday, we're going to permit certain things to take place. We're going to permit certain things to happen that we're going to call banking, but it's technically not banking. We're going to suspend all kind of banking, and when we suspend it, that's all she wrote. Ladies and gentlemen, all normal banking activities have been suspended. The president has suspended it. He's never terminated the act. Go ahead and take a look. They've amended certain provisions of the act, but they've never terminated it. You'll keep hearing, well, it's been made ineffective. I don't give a, do not listen to junk like that. There is no such thing as something has been made ineffective. That's not how you get rid of a so-called statute at large. Well, it's been made ineffective because they repealed it with this statute at large. No, you don't repeal it with a statute at large. Do you understand? That's not how you repeal a so-called law. Is with another so-called law. You do it by repealing the law itself. But no, what they have done is they have amended certain provisions and have said other provisions are no longer applicable. Technically, you can challenge those provisions and the way that they have amended it as being a violation of their own rules, procedures, policies, and so on and so forth, but there's no need for you to go through all of that. I'm going to tell you my position, and over the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about that position. While I get this mail out to our sat packers, we're going to be doing some videos updating everybody on each one of the programs that we've offered and that we're continuing to offer so that there's a better understanding of what's going on. That's our mission, is to educate you. Eon was thinking about helping y'all out because he said there was a void, but Redress is going to go back to doing what Redress does, educating y'all. Now let's get on with the getting started. We're at 9 minutes 25 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk about 1933 and Congress amending the Federal Reserve Act. When you read that section, which is on page, pay attention to this, 78 of the Congressional Record of 1933, when you go and you take a look at that, what you're going to notice, ladies and gentlemen, and I want you to pay attention, that Section 401 of the Federal Reserve Act was amended. and it was amended, calling those notes, those bills of exchange or bills, pay attention, bills of exchange or bills, promissory notes, or any notes, bankers acceptance, trade acceptances, or trade drafts. Yes, there's a thing called a trade draft. You might refer to that as a trade acceptance. Those things weren't repealed. They say it was repealed by the June 12th, 1945 Act. No, it wasn't. What was repealed by June 12th, 1945 was the ability of the banks to receive circulating notes in blank. Nobody wants to give somebody a blank check where they can sign it over to whomever they want. That's called an endorsement in blank. So they said, no, we ain't doing that. So they repealed or struck out or omitted that section. But they did not repeal the act. Can I help you guys understand something? When you're reading in the code that something was repealed, and it'll usually be at the bottom, talking about in brackets, and you're reading the U.S. code and it puts the history of the law at the bottom, you need to understand that that's not part of the law. That section down there and any comments that they make in that section is not part of the law. It never was. That's the revisory committee, the law office council. Okay, that's those idiots coming up with that. Congress is not saying that because Congress knows how to enact something. By the way, Congress cannot enact the code because Congress did not write the code. So Congress cannot sit up there and say, okay, we approve of the code. That's why Congress only constitute as positive law the title. Why? Because Congress can't go over the entire code looking for mistakes. They don't have that type of time. They'd actually be doing their job. There was no reason to codify the code. Pay attention. There's no reason to codify the code. But Congress just started making all these stupid laws and making them so long and so audacious that, well, we think we need to codify this because, see, the way it's written, if you charge somebody with this, you have to charge them with the whole paragraph, or that you can't charge them with anything. And that's literally how it is. See, when you have the code and a person is charged with this section or that section or this section or that section, can't do that unless the sections are actually divided up in the actual statutes at large. The code divide things up. The U.S. Code divided that. They didn't have the right to do that. But enough about that later. We're going to segue for the next 3 minutes because I want to explain something. Then we're going to get back to explaining this money thing. I promise you, if you don't learn something, something's wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been listening to a lot of videos of a lot of people talking and telling people, hey, you do a 1099 A and you can get yourself a house. As I said before, you guys don't understand. If you read the instructions for the 1099A, I'm going to tell it to you so that you can go read it for yourself. The 1099A is for informational purposes only. Go back and look. Well, no, it's for acquisitions. No, it does not say it's for acquisitions. What it is called is acquisitions and abandonment. It doesn't say that's what it's for. That's the name of the form. Stop thinking you understand something just because you read a title. Well, you can't judge a book by its cover. Exactly. Some of you will get it. There is this group. They're called the Tax Slayers. They did a YouTube video on 1099A and 1099C. Go ahead and listen to Tax Slayers. They'll even tell you in the midst of the video that the 1099A is for informational purposes only. Go ahead and read the IRS publication on 1099A, 1099C. See, it's only for informational purposes only. So how can you purchase anything with a 1099A alone? There are other documents that go with a 1099A. Shame on y'all for not reading. Shame on all of you for just listening to somebody tell you how to fill out the form, telling you how to fill out the form. Not saying, well, here's what the rules say, and that's why you're going to fill it out this way. But Tax Slayers shows you how to fill the form out. Ladies and gentlemen, as I told you, the ones that we have filled out, the ones that we have applied for, every single one of them has been accepted, with the exception, follow me, with the Defrauded Homeowners of America. We're redoing those now. As a matter of fact, I just got a message last night that they've been redone, with the exception of 5 remaining accounts that we can't do because it's too many, and so I have to show them how to get that done. But we are already at $8 trillion, and that's not even doing the portion of the Bradley Christopher Stark Act that we have access to. I said 3 minutes. We're going to go a little bit above that 3 minutes. People say, well, what can you do with the trillions of dollars? I'm not trying to do anything with the trillions of dollars. You got to understand, we are in a hypothecated system. These are not actual, well, technically, and I'm sorry about these little creatures right here. I can't control this. This is just some, a bunch of, what you call it, bye-bye, you know, Chinese in their anime. All right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I download pictures in bulk, and getting rid of all the other pictures, it's more difficult than you know, because I do it by thousands and hundreds, and so I just run out of time. I was supposed to go through, I had 50,000 photos on here originally. Let me tell y'all something, 50,000 photos, I wasn't about to go through all 50,000 photos, so I deleted the 26 gigabytes worth of photos. The entire thing, just deleted it, didn't need it, because it wasn't that big of a deal. Most of it was like this one, cars. But like I said, I need changes. Can't just have a screen. Need it to be changes. Getting back to this understanding, because it is 100% necessary, that we take care of some things for you guys. So let's get back to money, and we'll talk about the other stuff in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the Treasury website where I've shown you where there is no money. That Federal Reserve notes have no value. They're not worth anything. They're not redeemable. That has been the case since 1933. The Treasury told you that on their website, and because so many of us kept pointing that out, now they've taken it down off of their website. But if you go to Wayback Machine, you can now pull it up. Just go to legal tender status and do your research, and it'll pull it up. I've already put the link up. I've already shown it to you. We've already downloaded the document, because we've been quoting that for years. Why? Because the Treasury was given permission to regulate the currency of the United States in 1933. And when the Treasury said that the junk had no value, well, that was actually law. They were the experts. So it has no value. So if Federal Reserve notes have no value, which is the world default currency for the United States, the US dollar, well, Federal Reserve notes are not US dollars. Technically no, but technically yes. See, Federal Reserve notes are issued by the Treasury, and they are considered legal tender. So they are US dollars. They're just not lawful money, but they are US dollars. And that being the case, they have no value. But if they have no value, how can there be inflation? Wait, hold on. If they have no value, how can there be inflation? Because there are different types of values out there. That's why they tell you at the end of that paragraph, but for what they can buy. It says because they're backed by the commodities. Excuse me, that's called market value. So they're given market value, not intrinsic value, not actual value. So ladies and gentlemen, inflation is an economic, marketable product. It's an invention, a creation. It's the matrix. And once you understand what market value is, if you do your research, and I don't have time to show it to you, but if you do your research, if you do the case text thing, you'll notice that your home is real estate. It's market value. When you register your home as real estate, it's market value. Okay, and all of you do the real estate. But if you call it your primary home, if you call it your home, then the law looks at it differently. You don't believe me? Do your research. Everybody wants to understand there is no such thing as real estate in the Constitution. Go ahead and take a look. You don't see the word real estate anywhere in the Constitution. That's a regulatory term. Congress gets to regulate real estate. They get to assign a value to it and all that other type of stupid stuff. So start calling your property what it is. What does that Fifth Amendment say? You have the right to property. So start calling it your property. Stop letting them give it a title. Take those documents in a minute. Strike out the word real estate and call it your estate, my estate, the estate. But do not let them call your property commercial estate, because that's exactly what they're meaning when they're calling it real estate. They're saying it's commercial property. They're saying that you are making a profit off of the property. You don't believe me? Do your research. So stop doing it. Stop letting them tell you what your property is. All right, we're going to give you another little tidbit of information. Those of you who have properties and you're not in foreclosure, pay attention to what I just said. Those of you who have properties and you're not in foreclosure, quit claim your property into your trust. Those of you who have SAT packs, SAT pack 1, SAT pack 2s, any other SAT packs, you must create a declaration of trust. You can copy the declaration that's already in the agreement. You do not ever show your trust to anyone. Declaration of trust, certificate of trust. That 98 series number or 87 series number that you've received, you will take that information and go open up a bank account. That's all you need. You don't even need ID. Do your research. Non-interest bearing account. You don't need an ID to open up a non-interest bearing account for a trust. Shh, don't tell nobody. Because nobody will tell you that, but you can go down to the bank and talk to them about it. It only takes a couple of minutes. Got so many other people who've tried it. But what I've been trying to tell you is, under certain securities laws, we can't do that. We can't give you certain advice. We can't tell you how to do certain things. It's illegal for us to give you guys private securities. That's right, you heard me, private securities. See, under the Security Exchange Act, we can't give you guys private securities, but we're not giving them to you under the Security Exchange Act. We're giving it to you under the Federal Reserve Act Amendment of 1933. And we're going to rely on that as these items being government obligations because they're backed by the credit of the nation. Oops, my bad. You just revealed to everybody what you've been doing. I haven't hidden it. I haven't hidden the fact that our instruments are backed by the credit of the nation. What? Because it's tax credits. They're dollar for dollar. Go ahead, type in tax credits are dollar for dollar. That means they're currency. Oops, my bad. There are so many people trying to copy. That's why we haven't been giving out a lot of information showing everything we're doing. But we're getting ready. Well, see, ladies and gentlemen, there has been a delay. Most of it has been on my part because I've been overextending myself. But there's been a delay in getting your stuff to you. Why? Because we have to make sure that we're not putting you in a pickle, in a bind. We can't explain everything to you, but we can definitely make sure that we word everything to let you know we are covering your bases, our bases. Okay? All right. The reason why you want to put everything in a trust, and that trust always wants to use the accrual method. What's the accrual method? Debits and credits. You have two ledgers. One's a debit side, one's a credit side. And you want to always zero out the account. And whatever amount that was there, You write it as a net operating loss. We're operating under the Federal Reserve Act. We're not operating under the Internal Revenue Code. Sorry. We're operating under the Federal Reserve Act. We're not operating under the Internal Revenue Code. If it's an obligation of the United States, you can't be taxed on it. It says it right there in the act. You cannot be taxed on the interest. It's not income. Why? How could it not be income? Pay attention. Because the government received the gold. You're receiving an even exchange. It's not income. It never was income. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not giving you theory. I'm giving you exactly what the law says. All you got to do is go read it. But many of you don't want to take the time to read. Why? Well, because it's so difficult. I read and I just can't understand it. And that's not my fault. I am not here to explain everything and to give you all the details 24 hours a day. That's what the consults are for. You pay for my time. The foundation is the one who receives the payment. I don't. It goes straight to the foundation. Why? Because if I receive the payment directly, then there are some consequences that come with that. I can't allow that. So everything will always go through the corporation. Oh, is that what you were telling us to do when you told us to go ahead and set up the trust account and do? Exactly. Why would you want to accept the liability? Why not let the trust handle the liability? Do your research, ladies and gentlemen. If it's a trust, even your corporations, even your companies, see, this is what we ran into. We had SAA and these stupid attorneys were suing us left and right to try to keep us from having insurance, because that's right, they were telling the truth. You bring 2 lawsuits against a company and that company loses its insurance or finds it very hard to get insurance. That's why most companies are bonded. They'll get a bond. We were going to do that, but we decided to protect ourselves with our credits and bond it that way. We decided not to outsource it. We decided to document the credits. Now, what you guys don't know, and I understand many of you don't understand this, when it comes to tax credits, go back and look at Tax Topic 453. It says you have to document this. You have to have evidence of this. Well, for the past 5 months, the staff at SACOM has been doing nothing but documenting it. I mean, we got all kind of records of them documenting the debt so that no one can say that we just created this in our own heads just last night. I just made them up last night. You know what I'm saying? I had to do that. Sorry. You know, I had to do that because some people who know what I just said know what I just said. Do you know what I said? Know what I'm saying? All right. Let's move forward so that you guys will further understand what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, in 1933, Congress took the gold. They didn't ask anybody for permission, they just took it. And then they told the people, but this is what we're going to do for you. Give us your gold. If you don't give it to us, you're going to go to jail for 10 years. That was the threat. Ladies and gentlemen, they have not been upholding their part of the bargain. Which means go after them for breach of contract. Wait. How do you go after the government for breach of contract? I will be showing you guys the code where it specifically says that all you have to do is bring it to the attention of the financial institution. Pay attention. You're going to love this. The financial institution is the Treasury. And the Treasury operates through the Federal Reserve. So you contact the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. You notify them that, hey, I had this promissory note, this promissory note, and this promissory note. You guys were supposed to process this and receive your funds through the Treasury according to the Federal Reserve Act, Section 401. You don't have to tell them the exact section. You just say Section 401. And y'all ain't did that. Y'all getting on my mother nerves. That's what you tell them. And once you do that, like I said, all kind of images on these pictures. Oh, that's an evil picture. Why would that picture be evil? That's just a picture. That's just some artist rendition. Nothing in it says anything about evil. Why does everybody think evil is our definition of ugly? Why does everybody think that? Somebody says something about somebody transforming themselves into light and being an angel. So why would people think that a creature like this would be a shape of something evil? Sorry, just thought I'd mention it. I'm sorry. Sorry, that little that you're hearing, that is my putting my hand on a heat sensitive touch screen on this desk that was donated to me. A young lady donated a desk that is over $3,000. She couldn't use it anymore. She had to. She couldn't use this one because this one was too big and much taller than her height. So she said, "You can have it if you can tow it away from here." So I towed it away and I used this desk. All right, let's get back to the dollar so that you guys understand. When Congress took the gold in 1933, remember, nobody's supposed to be using Federal Reserve notes but the Federal Reserve banks and their membered banks. Go look at section 412, 412 of Title 12 and 418. That's the whole thing. That's the amendment to the Federal Reserve Act. That's that section right there that we're talking about. That hasn't been repealed. It's exactly what the banks are doing. But when I sent my stuff to the Treasury, they ignored me, because you guys don't know all the little nuances to the fact. We were telling people, hey, take your promissory note, endorse it, and send it to them. Well, they actually have a clause that says you can't do that. It says it will be invalid. Really? So I'm going to tell you what you do. Now, I'll show you the code as soon as I get it. Someone is sending it to me. But, ladies and gentlemen, contact the OCC, Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and tell them you need to file a complaint, and tell them who you're going to file a complaint against: the United States Treasury for breach of the agreement. Say what? Yeah, you heard me right. File your complaint against the United States Treasury and the Federal Reserve for breach of the agreement. Remember, the Federal Reserve is supposed to receive those promissory notes, which are equivalent to cash. Okay, so they're receiving the security deposit. They're depositing it, but they're not crediting your account and saying that you're still liable for the debt when the debt was already recognized as a government obligation. If it wasn't recognized as a government obligation, they would not have received it under Section 401 of the Act. Pay attention. If it wasn't recognized as a government obligation, they would not have received it under 401 of the Federal Reserve Act. Section 18, paragraph 6. They would never have received it that way. Go back and take a look. It says when operating under this paragraph. Okay, they're operating under that paragraph, people. That means they have an obligation under that paragraph. The Treasury has an obligation under that paragraph. Well, you're talking about... No, I'm talking about doing... And I want you to follow this. This is what AmeriLegion is doing in addition to the other things they're doing for people. It's called a notary protest. That's what AmeriLegion is doing. Like I said, if you look at each one of the organizations, they do something to help solidify your position, because that's what I've been doing. I've been doing for you what I would do for myself. Documenting. Documentation is everything. Told you, if there's anything Maxine Waters taught me, was that documentation is everything. I keep talking about Maxine because she had an impact. Okay? 15-year-old kid going to her school every day after school, listening to her explain taxes and the law, then doing the research myself and finding out she was right. That everything she was saying, I could confirm. And to this day, nothing she has said has proven incorrect or has there been any liability associated with it. So I tell people the young lady isn't dumb like a lot of these idiots want to say she is. She knows what she's doing. She's a very shrewd person, but I've recognized that the whole time I've known her. Sorry, I get to see people for who they are. I take people for who they are. Some people I just can't stand the way they are, and so I avoid them. I stay away from them. But others, I can live with that. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get back to explaining to you guys that when Congress sat up there and changed the money system, and we went from a physical substance to a credit substance. Remember, all Congress is doing is issuing bills that are backed by something. It was always non-physical. Even when they said backed by gold, it was always non-physical. Why? Because they claimed the gold had to have a certain weight. Well, that's physical. No. Because if you didn't have the gold, because most people didn't carry that type of gold on them, it was held by a bank. The banks issued letters of credit. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you do receive your credits, go ahead and issue letters of credit, but you are going to have to do several things to protect your credit and to document your letters of credit and to start backing your junk. And people, well, you can't do it. Of course you can. It's the same thing the banks do. But you need to start operating as a banking institution. Well, I don't know how to operate as a banking institution. Okay, well, don't you think you should learn? I didn't say a financial institution. Now, I want you to make sure you understand what I just said. I said banking institution. There is a huge difference between a financial institution and a banking institution. You are literally a private banker. Every single person in America, especially if you use Federal Reserve notes. You are a private banker because only private banks and national banks, membered banks of the Federal Reserve, are permitted to use Federal Reserve notes. If you weren't one, you would not be able to use those notes, but because you are one, go back and read. Go back and read Title 12, Section 411. Now let's get back to your understanding money. Gas prices are going up. Food prices are going up. There's this thing called inflation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is market value. That's why the Supreme Court said in Thompson versus Butler, or Butler versus Thompson, I forget the order of the names, in 1877, that there's no difference between a coin dollar and a note dollar. It's right there on the Amera Legion website. Amera, A-M-A-R-A, Legion, L-E-G-I-O-N. Ladies and gentlemen, as a matter of fact, while I talk, I'm going to pull this up. We're getting close to 3 o'clock in the morning. I have a consult that will happen at 9 o'clock in the morning, so 6 hours from now. And I'll be prepared for that because I will go get some sleep. I've had 3.5 hours of sleep, so I will get 4. I got to put y'all on pause. I got to put this information in 1 second. Okay. By the time the 29th gets here, the Amera Legion site will be updated and the PDF section should be completed. What's happening, and I hope this has the update. I just haven't, oh, get out of here. Nobody wants this extension. What is it? Install app? My site? I thought I already had this. Alright, I will do this extension. I already have it. I should already have that extension. Alright, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me show you something. This is the PDF section. So let's go here. It's not complete. It's temporary. I don't want that. Let me show you. This is going to be the PDF section for Amera Legion. You'll have a page where you can just go there and click on. And it is the index. But I have to finish it. I have to put this in its own little box. A search box, so you'll have to wait till I get it done. Okay, but you'll see most of the documents will be in here that you can do your research on concerning all of this, especially Congress, the congressional acts. See, this is the Senate report, and then you have the congressional report. Instead of having to go all over the internet, oh, you're gonna love this document, NCVHS. This is showing your birth certificate is monetized. Okay, This is showing your birth certificate is monetized. And that's the congressional record for the HJR 192. Now, what you're going to see is they have documents like this, judiciary courts. This is the one-stop information. You'll see that there are several one-stop informations in here on several different companies and countries. This one-stop information shows that they do commercial business. Okay? That's why it's included, so you can see their finances and that they do commercial business. They're all corporations, including a lot of the courts. Most of the courts are under the Judiciary Council. And you will be amazed at how many, see? Fulton County Court. Okay? County of Ulster. This is their one-stop information, showing what they are. This is a company that decides it wants to try to sue us. Ladies and gentlemen, they sue us, we countersue them, and nothing goes of anywhere. We don't get our jury trial, they don't get nothing, we don't get nothing, they just let it go. Somebody sues you, you always countersue. And you categorically, just like they do, you categorically deny everything. Everything! Just that simple. That's how simple life is. Categorically deny everything. Alright, so at the end of this video, and we're just about there, I'm going to explain to you what money is and what money is not. Okay? Promissory notes. Let's see if we can pull up a document so that we can show it to you. This is the congressional record, but not the congressional record I want to show you. I'm going to have to pause y'all one more gen, so give me 1 second. I want you all, because this is Minnesota Law Review. This is 1930. So I want you to pay attention. This is by Mr. Waterman. Maybe a Mrs. Waterman, but this is 1930, and they weren't going to let too many women be professors at colleges in 1930, especially Minnesota. Sorry Minnesotians. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make sure you understand about the Minnesota Law Review and this professor telling you that promissory notes operate as a substitute for money. But he says there's a wrong concept, that people have a misunderstanding that promissory notes do not operate as a substitute for money. So let's find out what's going on here. Promissory notes are almost invariably described in judicial opinions by judges and in legal text, statutory text, as being either substitutes for money, representing money, contracts circulating like money, performing in part the functions of money, instruments possessing the same circulable character of money, part of the currency of the country, credit instruments performing a function of paper money in the medium of exchange, possessing the advantages of flexible paper and serving as a substitute for government bills and notes. So this is what they say about promissory notes. Why? Because in the past, before 1930, you could do a promissory note and it was the same as cash. Why? Because the person could literally take that and get compensated for it. No joke. It was that way. This was the understanding by Congress in 1933. How do we prove this? Well, let's do this right here. First, they give you the case law. See, 1820, 1831, 1859, for over a century, almost 2 centuries, ladies and gentlemen. Well, look, we got 1959, 1890. You don't understand, ladies and gentlemen. If this was 1820, then you best believe it was 1789. You see, that's what people don't understand. There are Norton's Bill of Notes. Then there's another one. Where's the other one? There's another one that talks about bills. These are books. Oh, look at the law merchants. Commercial instruments. Well, isn't that interesting? 1924. Then we got one Parsons Notes and Bills. These publications will let you know exactly what a note and a bill is. Okay? That's what they did back then, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because the term money, as commonly used, refers to those economic goods, commodities, which by usage are generally accepted in exchange and thus serve to effect the transfer of economic goods more easier than by means of barter. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what a promissory note is. It's a medium of exchange. People, well, it's a promise to pay. No, it's a promissory note. So stop using the word to define itself. A promissory note is a medium of exchange. It's a substitute for money. You cannot use a word to define itself. So stop saying a promissory note is a promise to pay. It cannot be a promise to pay because you cannot use the word in its own definition to describe the word. When describing money, you can't say, well, money is money, because that doesn't give you a definition. You can't use a word to describe itself. It really is just that simple. Okay? Money is one of those terms which political economists have borrowed from popular speech. In spite of numerous attempts to make a suitable definition, it still lacks precision and indefiniteness of meaning, which should be characterized scientific terminology. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't even read that before I just said what I was saying about money and definitions. I just said it, and then there I am reading it. That's exactly what I was saying, and I assure you I wasn't reading ahead or anything, and I didn't read that junk on money before, and I don't care. It's just, you got to understand what money is and what it isn't. There's no such thing as a legal definition for money. Hold on now. There's no such thing as a legal definition for money. Oh, wait, hold on now. There is no such thing as a legal definition for money. Why is that? Because money is a common law thing, not a commerce thing. Congress does not get to define money in the United States. Do you know what the law says? That they should coin nothing but gold and silver as money in the United States. So they don't even get to define money. Money is a medium of exchange. That's all it is. Now that's the first one. Now this is 1930. Let's go to 1973. Now this is North Carolina Law Review. Okay, the treatment accorded to promissory notes of the federal income tax. Now Brandis, I don't know Henry Brandis. I don't know this person, but let me tell you something. The treatment accorded promissory notes under the federal income tax. So I want you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, this is 1973. We don't care about the federal income tax. Why? Because we're describing money. Money is not defined under the federal income tax. Why? Because it's defined under the Federal Reserve Act. Remember, it's no longer income. Since 1933, you cannot earn a living. They took the value out of the system. Shh, don't tell nobody. It's a secret. So we're going to go to treatment, y'all. We're going to read the first section. The purpose of this article is to identify, in some of the more commonly encountered contexts, and in somewhat summary fashion, the federal income tax consequences issuing when an obligor, your note, as distinguished from cash or a check, is delivered to the obligee, the bank. The consequences appear to vary, if not always justifiably. So you mean the consequences is not always justified? Shh. With the role of the taxpayer as payee or maker, with his accounting method, cash or accrual, and with the words, if any, used by the payee in accepting the note. Oh my goodness. Well, let's go to number 5. We don't care about none of this stuff right here. We don't care about General Lee. Man, I promise you, General Lee, see, this is a cruel taxpayers. General Lee, we don't care nothing about no General Lee. So we can go down. I want y'all to, let's keep on going. Oh, and by the way, pay attention. To the extent that sales transactions may be subject to different rules, see the text infra under credit sales. As to reporting interest elements of installment notes. Credit sales. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the SAT packs are receiving is a sell of credit. Oops. Well, anyway, we're going to go down to number 5 because number 5 is our most important. See this number 5. The statement that notes and other evidences of indebtedness received for services, rents, interest, or royalties If it doesn't exclude, it's deemed to include. Constitutes income to the amount of the fair market value. Now wait, what did that just say, sir? Oh, well, this is saying that notes and other indebtedness documents are money. See, they are income. They are money. But it's market value. Hold on now. Market value. Hold on now. Market value. Not intrinsic value. No, market value. Pay attention. Referring to cash taxpayers, not the accrual taxpayers, but the cash taxpayers, a negotiable note of a fair market value, not less than the face amount, face value, is the equivalent of cash. Is the equivalent is equal to cash and includable in income for the year received. Wait a minute, are you saying the promissory note, a negotiable note for the face value, is equal to cash? That's exactly what it says. Hold on, go back and read it. For recognition that a promise to pay, not evidenced by a note, may be the equivalent of cash when transferable or of a kind acceptable in the market. See, I want you all to pay attention. This was 1943 that they recognized the promissory note was equivalent to cash or equal. See, equivalent means equal. Go ahead and look up the definition. Equivalent means equal. This is lawyers who don't want to just come straight out and tell you. See, they even said equivalent to cash. Just so that you know, so that you get it. So, this is the tax commissioner, the Fed commissioner. This is him saying this right here. And this is a court saying this right here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another court saying this right here. So what's the big deal right here? What's the number one issue? Face value, ladies and gentlemen. They're saying that it has value, that a promissory note has value. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to pay attention. The promissory note documents promise to pay. So when you receive a 1099-C, they say that you've received a loan because you did a promise to pay. You didn't understand that that was a government obligations. Because it was a government obligations, you didn't owe that money. You only agreed to pay should the government not cover the quote-unquote promissory note. That's what you agreed to pay if they didn't pay. That's why they were supposed to send it to the Treasury. Now look, notice this. The tax court previously held that a promise to pay incorporated in a lease agreement was the equivalent to cash and reportable by the cash taxpayer when the agreement was made. On remand, the tax court, with minimal revisions to those findings, again held that the promise to pay was equivalent to cash and was reportable in the amount of the fair market value as determined by the commissioner. And people say, well, that only involves taxes. No, pay attention, it involves the principal. They say when you gave them that promissory note, it was the equivalent to cash. So how come it's not reported on your statement? You gave them cash, something that was the equivalent of cash. How come it wasn't deposited properly? So you challenge them. So that's what AmeriLegion is going to be doing for you. That's why they're also going to be forgiving the debt. We paid you. You didn't process the paperwork. Now you owe us. That's what AmeriLegion is doing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to take y'all too far. I just want to say, as I'm showing you this, and what I'm showing you is 1961, 1943, and then I want you to go all the way back, ladies and gentlemen, all the way back to the 1930s, 1980s, the 1820s. The other document that we just showed you, see, we're in the 60s here, and we're going all the way back because we're going to take you back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we go here to show you our 1890s, 1875s, 1820s, okay? Legal aspects of credit. Let you know that this has been the case for over 2 centuries in the United States. So what do? This is what you rely on. You rely on these facts. You rely on the amendment to the Federal Reserve Act. Stick to those things. Forget about relying on everything else. Forget about relying on this statute and that statute and all of that. Focus on the wording of the statute. Okay, let's do this real quick. This is not the official one. This is one that I am amending because I did it so I could select things. Please understand this is Section 401 of Title 4 of the Federal Reserve Act. The sixth paragraph of Section 18. The sixth paragraph of Section 18 of the Federal Reserve Act is amended as to read as follows. Upon deposit with the United States Treasury or the Treasury of the United States, any direct obligation of the United States, any notes, bills of exchange, bankers' acceptances acquired under the provisions of this act. So you want to be operating under the provisions of this act. Wait, hold on. Hold on. Acquired under the provisions of this act. You want to be operating under the provisions of this act. Wait. Hold on. Shall be issued under this paragraph. So you want to operate under this paragraph. It's not a long paragraph. See, that paragraph ends right here. We don't care about Section 402. There is an amendment to Section 402. Not worried about Section 402. It is Section 401. Now, there was an amendment to Section 401 in 1945, and they repealed the section talking about circulating notes are to be issued against securities obligation of the United States, and the amount of such circulating notes shall be equal to the face value of the obligation of the United States. But it's the circulating notes being issued in blank. Where is it down here? Circulating notes shall be subject to the same tax, and then it talks about if they're not able to verify. That's the provision. The provision that says that if they're not able to verify. Because at that point they were taking them at their word, and they came back and said, nah, we're going to strike that. So they took that provision out, referencing circulating notes, that if they weren't able to verify the circulating notes. Okay? Just that simple. That's all they did. Such circulating notes shall be subject to tax at that percentage. And then, let me see, I think it's down here. Called upon to perform carrying out the provision of this paragraph, appropriations available for distinctive paper printing in the United States currency or national banks are hereby made available for the production of circulating notes of the Federal Reserve Bank herein provided, but the United States shall be reimbursed by the Federal Reserve Bank to which such notes are issued for all expenses necessarily incurred in connection with the procuring of such notes and any other expenses incidental to their issue, redemption, replacement, and all that. So it's this section right here that says that the notes are secured by deposits of blah 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 obligations of the United States bearing the circulating privilege. So this is where the notes cannot be confirmed. Then they are to go ahead and issue those notes anyway, blah blah blah. Well, that's the section that was repealed. The rest of this paragraph was not repealed, and you won't be able to find any law saying that. So if anybody wants to tell you something has been repealed, oh no, you better prove that to me. Don't just tell me it's been repealed. Where did Congress say specifically, directly, that the entire provision is repealed and not just a section of the provision? You guys just got to understand what they're doing. It's a word game. And many of you are not good at nitpicking on their words as they are nitpicking on yours. So stop trying to battle with them. Do the administrative process, people. That's your best aim. Do your notary protest process. That's what AmeriLegion is there for. You want to create debt? Then do the arbitration process. And then go through organizations like SAA to get that taken care of. Don't do the confirmation. Do the forgiveness of debt. Notice of debt, forgiveness of debt. Let it be a government obligation, because all debt in the United States is a government obligation. Wait, say that again? All debt in the United States is a government obligation. You can't purchase anything. They took away your purchasing power. So everything is a debit. It's not a debt. Everything is a debit. They use the accrual method in the United States. Y'all need to pay attention. Hey, gotta go. Less than an hour. I'm out of here. Goodbye.